For some, it took clinical death. For others, it took an inexplicable, spontaneous out-of-body experience. Something Super Spiritual presents the limited series Forever Changed. Join me as we explore the phenomena known as the near-death experience and the spiritually transformative experience. Both tend to spiritually activate and heal those who have traveled to the other side and back again. Many of these people are spiritually awakened and in some cases, miraculously physically healed from such diseases as cancer. All are left forever changed. Oh, well, welcome. And I'm so happy to have you here. It's really nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to do this too and to see you face to
Yeah.
face.
How was your life before your near-death experience? Were you involved with religion? Were you, when was it, first of all? How long ago?
So my near-death experience was in December 2020.
Oh,
So
recently.
very recent. And so,
Wow.
yes, and it's been a whirlwind since it's happened because I'm not the same person at all, not even close.
No, I can't, I honestly, I can't imagine. Okay. So take us to before.
So I grew up in Seattle. My mom and my dad were both alcoholics, or are, I guess that never goes away, right?
Sure.
Um, Pretty big family of alcoholics. Alcoholism started for me pretty early, like 11 years old. Um, and so, yeah, I had a lot of problems as a youth. Just nonstop things, other abuses, sexual abuse, other things that have happened to me that just really dampened my spirit. I just kind of remember not feeling loved. I felt a lot of lack of love,
Okay.
not really love, dated the wrong people, worked in bars, even was a stripper at one point in my life, to make money.
Yep.
Did a lot of things, hung out with the wrong people, drank too much, did recreational drugs here and there. Wasn't really like a big drug user, but I had a lot of friends that were affected. Even one of my best friends passed at 23 from heroin. Quite a few of my other friends have passed too from, the new thing, fentanyl.
Oh, wow.
I even had an OD. It wasn't like I wasn't a drug addict at the time, but I was hanging out with people and I was bored and somebody was like, "Oh, well, let's do an ecstasy pill." And I was like, "Okay, great." But it turned out to be like methamphetamine and fentanyl. And I ended up in the hospital on a ventilator.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they treated, like, when I woke up from it, it was really traumatic because everything just went black. There was no near death experience at this moment with this experience, no near death experience. So I remember people asking me after it happened if I saw anything or if I had an experience. And I said no. And I started losing faith because I always did have belief in a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is an atheist, but I always had faith and believed in the spirit world. And I did lose some faith during that experience, and definitely was wondering if it's just lights out,
Yeah.
from that particular experience. And that experience was only, I think, 6 months before I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I'm wondering if it's connected in some kind of way because they, stick the ventilator down your throat and it was in my esophagus. So when I started not being able to swallow, I thought it was an after effect from
Oh.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't go to the doctor, and I just, they were also telling you during COVID, don't go to the doctor unless you have to.
Yes.
So I didn't take care of myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't think that I could be sick. I didn't think that, I had to go, with everything. And when I finally did go to the hospital, it was, tons of during COVID, it's like you have to go to this specialist, that specialist, get an endoscopy. But when I finally got in, which was about a month and a half after I actually went, I think my endoscopy was done on 11/10/2020, and I was diagnosed with the cancer 11/11/2020. I had stage 4 cancer. I had metastasized cancer that,
Wow.
according to the medical team, was incurable, inoperable, not a candidate for radiation. It was, we will see if we can prolong your life type of situation. I was not expecting that. I
Sure.
felt like I got hit with a ton of bricks. I've never felt like that kind of fear, anxiety, stress in my life. I was was a single mother. My daughter was terrified. I just was like, I can't leave here. And I honestly felt it in my soul that I wasn't going anywhere. Nobody else around me had the same confidence that I had. And so that was really hard too, because there was just like people, just treating me like I was dying,
Yeah.
from the doctors to my family, taking away different like decisions and rights from me, trying to get a will together, having like no faith.
Wow.
And so I felt really alone at that time, but I always knew that I was going to do what I did. And it was more than just the near death experience. Like, I believe like I manifested health, because I had got into manifestation about 2 years before, or no, 4 years before I was diagnosed with cancer. But I was just manifesting money and like things that I thought were fun. I definitely never attempted to manifest health or even cared. It wasn't even a care in my life.
Sure.
I was always healthy. I was young.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm still young. I'm 41. I'll be 42 in January. And I was diagnosed when I was 39, almost 40.
Okay.
But I just knew in my, mind, body, and soul that I could manifest health. I remember watching The Secret, seeing that people had done it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to investigate this more. So I got all types of books. I, listened to all these different spiritual leaders. I found people who did it, listened to their testimonies, and then I got even more confident that I would be able to do it. So I had
Wow.
put that plan into motion
Sure.
already. I cut off anything negative, was only like watching really positive movies. I was trying to use laughter. I was releasing traumas. I was really going back to loving myself.
Yes.
I remember that I felt love for the first time, like within myself, that I had never felt in my life, shortly before I had the NDE experience. I also was not able to eat for 45 days because the tumor was in my esophagus. So during that time, a lot of people were like thinking that I was going crazy, or actually they were telling people that, told my daughter that, because I was hallucinating, because I wasn't able to eat. I knew what was happening. I mean, I was still logical, but I did know that there was some hallucination going on. When you don't eat for 45 days, that's going to happen. I couldn't eat if I wanted to. I was drinking juices and a lot of water, whatever I could do to get nutrition into me. They wanted to put in a feeding tube. I didn't want one, because I knew that what a feeding tube was they just basically put sugar water into you with a little
Oh.
bit of nutrition.
Hmm.
And I knew that that was not going to help me heal. Um,
Wow.
so I agreed, because I couldn't eat, to get a medical stent placed in my esophagus so that it would move the tumor over enough that I'd be able to swallow food.
Wow.
That's when I went in December, when I had the NDE, was for that medical procedure. So I was in the hospital, getting the medical procedure. I remember them telling me before they put me under, like, this is easy peasy. You have nothing to worry about. You should be out of here within 24 hours. That was what I thought about when I went in there.
Hmm.
So the medical procedure went fine. Afterwards, I wasn't doing well. I ended up being there about a week. I couldn't eat. I was throwing up nonstop. I don't know. It was just, my body was rejecting that medical device, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember like going to the bathroom. I'm so weak. I couldn't walk. And I just remember thinking like, this is the end, like there's just no, like, how can I do this? But I had been so confident before, but I really felt like it was the end at that moment. And I kind of just surrendered, like, okay, I'm fine with that. I
Right.
made peace with that. And so it's sometime after that, I had the experience. And in the experience, all I know is that, like I said, I'm in severe distress, pain, and I am in another realm. There's no tunnel or anything like that. I've listened to other people's stories, but my personal experience, I didn't have the tunnel. Maybe I just got swooped up, beamed up so quick. I don't know. But when I left my body, I just remember like my eyes opening, or not eyes opening because I didn't have a body,
Sure.
but I just remember being in a presence of, it felt like I was in a womb or some kind of pod, and I felt like I was wrapped in blankets of love, and I felt love like I'd never felt in my life, and I remember it feeling so good, and I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing, like especially coming from being in pain for so long
Sure.
and not eating for 45 days. um and then shortly after that, I mean, of course I'm enjoying it at first because it's so amazing. I knew exactly where I was. There wasn't any fear or anything, but I do remember feeling shocked, like, oh my gosh, I'm dead,
So you were actually thinking that, or or I mean, how do you say thinking when you're not using your
well,
brain? But yeah, yeah,
that is, you do think there, you feel everything. It's like the feeling realm.
yeah, yeah,
And so you don't think things, it's just like a feeling of it, and there's like a visualization of things.
yeah. Okay.
But yes, that's,
Interesting.
so I definitely knew that I was dead. I knew that I had crossed over. Shortly after, there was a being there, I, and it was like a very like warm, like, presence. And they said it's time to come home. And that is when I started pleading. And I was like, no, I'm not coming home. Like, I got stuff to do. I was so worried about my daughter and my mom.
Wow.
My mom wasn't taking my illness very well and was like terrified. And so I was just like, and I thought she was losing it at the time. And I just really was worried about her. My daughter had cried to me a week prior saying that she was going to be an orphan.
Yeah,
And I was like, I can't leave them.
yeah.
And so I just like begged and pleaded and begged and pleaded. It felt like 2 days of begging to stay because time doesn't exist there. So like, or it's distorted. I don't know, but it felt like a long time.
Yeah.
And finally the presence was like, okay, you can, you can go. And I remember, like, just like I said, you get these like feelings in your head. In my head, I'm jumping up and down, celebrating. And the feeling I got was that I just closed the biggest sale of my life because I'm a salesperson. I do sales for a living. So that was like the feeling that I personally got. Like I felt like I just closed a really, really big sale.
Wow.
And, I closed a sale with God. So that's pretty cool. Or an angel, or
That's
I don't know.
amazing. Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you have any idea who the being was? Did you see any
I
features, or was it just like a
No, it was
light
just like
being?
a light being. It was just like a light being. There wasn't like, like a visualization of like any like person that I know or anything. It was definitely, I think, and personally, like either an angel or God.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Did you see colors? I mean, was it just like a
I mean,
white
maybe
space?
yeah. I mean, it was like maybe like reds and, purples, but but it's more like light colors. It's just
Yeah.
like rainbow with like light type of colors.
Interesting. Wow.
I don't
Oh,
remember like really
wow.
seeing colors, but there was a lot of like visualizations that were like, going through, like me being excited about closing that sale.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't the end of it. So then being said, after I'm like in midst of celebration, because I remember I'm celebrating.
Yep.
Another thing is I don't remember like being like super respectful to God or the angel either. Like I was like, no, I'm going out. Like I was like, you know, being kind of aggressive, like pleading my case.
A little irreverent.
Yeah. But the being said, but, and I remember being like, but there's like, no, what do you mean, but? And they said, but it's going to be hard. And the next feeling I got was like, yeah, I don't care. It's going to be hard. What's harder than dying from stage 4 cancer? Nothing could be harder than this. Like, I'm going back, you know?
Yeah.
And here I am. And within a week from that event, I couldn't even walk out of the hospital. I was so sick. I had to be like in a wheelchair. Like I literally couldn't walk. They tried to have me walk. I couldn't do it. I was that weak. But a week after that, my tumor numbers were 100 or 1,050, and they dropped it in the 200s within like a week of that event.
Wow.
Then like a week later, I started getting really, really, well, actually, I ate some meat, and I hadn't been eating meat because any cancer book or anything that you read, it's like, don't eat meat. That's
Right.
another thing. So I'm a vegan now. So that's something that completely changed since this near death. Before that, I was like keto, eating steaks every night.
Sure.
But I ate some meat because I was able to eat finally, and I thought it was the stent. So it was my first time eating. And so I went to this Caribbean restaurant and got like this huge plate of meat. And I just like ate the whole thing until I was like sick. And then I'm in the bathroom throwing up everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sick. I'm going to die again after I was feeling okay. And then I get like a download from God or like the spirit world or something. And it's like, don't eat my animals, like don't eat my souls. And then I felt all the pain of all the animals in the whole world.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like,
wow.
And I just started crying, and I've never eaten an animal since that event. But that event turned into, I got really sick after that, got a fever, everything. And they're like, oh, well, you're on chemo and you're on this, so you're immune compromised. So if you have a fever, you could die. You need to go to the emergency room. This is December 31st now at this point, 2020. By the time I left that emergency room, it was 2021. I was there for like 8 hours. So I had to wait there for 8 hours. Then it was a shit show, like gunshot victims, people screaming. It's during COVID. It was really bad. And wow. I thought at that time I'm immune compromised, you know? So it was really, and all my friends are like having fun celebrating on December 31st. I was there completely alone because my mom is older and immune compromised, and she couldn't be there with me. So I was alone on New Year's Eve, not knowing what was going on. So they ended up doing all these tests. They couldn't find anything wrong with me, but then they did an x-ray and they noticed that the stent had migrated to my stomach.
Oh.
And so they had told me that the stent would never migrate to my stomach because that would mean that it would have to disappear, which they said that's impossible, or, you know, or shrink a lot. Because, you know, I was stage 4 and there was no like really reversing it, maybe making it not grow as fast or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like thinking it was a mistake, not quite knowing. But then I knew that the cancer markers had gone drastically down. So I had hope and faith. And I had an endoscopy 2 weeks later on the 15th of January. And that's when they pulled the stent out and saw the paper. And I, you know, ended up with photos showing me that my tumor completely disappeared.
What did they say? Like, they must have been shocked.
They didn't. You would think so, but they kind of just got scared and didn't want to talk to me and said that their chemo worked really well. And so they weren't like too, like, I don't know. They definitely weren't celebrating, you know? And then afterwards, they said, even though the tumor disappeared, I was still stage 4 because I still had cancer in my lymph nodes and I still had cancer in my chest. And so like, it wasn't over, you know, but the tumor disappeared. And then after that point, I kind of took my health into my own hands, and I discontinued the chemo, discontinued the immunotherapy, and I went on a spiritual journey and went to Miami, Puerto Rico, Palm Springs, and just traveled and got healthy. And when I came back, I was cancer free.
Wow. Holy mackerel. I mean, that's just like, what did they say after that? Did the doctors have anything to say after that?
They said that I need to get on chemo pills because the chemo pills are an insurance plan, and they're sure that I still have cancer cells and blah, 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 blah. And then they even mailed me some chemo pills to start them. And then I was going to take them. But then I said, well, how long do I have to take these? And they said, oh, the rest of your life. And then I was just like, no, if that's something that you guys think I need for the rest of my life. And then I found out they're like $30,000 a month. I was like,
Oh,
no, I'm not. I mean, I would, of course, most of it would be covered by my insurance, but
sure.
you know, I don't need anything that's going to compromise my immune system when my immune system is what fought that cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just like in my gut, it's like, don't take them. So I just never took them.
So you were following your intuition.
Yes. My gut was like, don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Um, okay. So let's go back during the NDE.
Okay.
A lot of people report, seeing a tunnel or loved ones or do you remember any of that? Did you have any of those experiences?
You know, not that I can remember, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even the NDE was a little foggy at first, right? And then different parts of it kind of come back to you. So maybe,
Yeah.
but like the part that I remember, I just woke up in that like pod, but it was more of a feeling like I've never felt love like that. And
Yeah.
then when I came back, like the love that I have in my heart now was like completely different than it was before. Like I and the love that I have for myself, like
Sure.
that's like I think the most drastic.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, you really struggled before, prior to
Really.
this, I mean,
Yeah.
some serious ups and downs and uh, to come out of this doing a complete 180 that like a lifetime of therapy might not even get you to the point where you are now. I mean, it's just really amazing.
Yeah, like I mean, I always had severe anxiety too before.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, anti-anxiety medicine ever worked for me. It just usually made things worse or the side effects were really bad. And I have zero anxiety now. And I
Oh,
was always, I guess I had a lot of depression too before. And yeah, even with like all the trials and tribulations that like I've been through, I just don't get those feelings anymore. Like I'm really grateful.
yeah, I was just going to ask that. Having experienced all that trauma and the depression and the anxiety and the addictions and this and that, whatever, to come out of it where you are now, feeling so mentally healthy and balanced and aligned as you are. I mean, it's just the
I feel like I
gratitude.
healed, like God healed my mind, body, and soul. Like it's so
Seriously.
much more than just my body. Like it was
Right.
my mind more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, healing the cancer, obviously enormous, but then everything else, the emotions and the mind and the mental state. And wow,
Well,
it's so beautiful.
I think too, I figured out that like anxiety comes from fear. And after you have a near death, like what are we most scared of in the world? Usually it's death, right? Or,
Mm-hmm.
just scared of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, After this experience, it just helped me so much. Like I'm definitely not scared of death,
Mm-hmm.
or anything really. Like I'm just like if I'm scared of, or if I get a little bit of fear, I'm like, oh, I got to do that. Things
Mm-hmm.
that I would have been too scared to do before, or even scared to be myself. I was scared to be my authentic self. I think that now I get to actually live my truth and be. This is who I authentically am. Finally, finally. I was always hiding that before, embarrassed of this, or, you know, oh, I used to be a stripper. I used to do this, like just really down, just really not loving myself at all.
Judging yourself. And yeah.
Mhm.
Ooh, wow. So, one of the things I was going to ask you is how has this experience changed you moving forward? And you just answered that, in such an eloquent way. How has
I
it
mean,
changed what did you say?
oh, I just said it changed my whole life. Like there's like
Everything.
nothing. It's like a 180.
Yeah. So how has it changed like your friendships, your family relationships in general? How has that changed for you?
Well, I think that like my relationships are a lot more authentic than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So there's people I really found out who was like a good friend when all of this happened, and who was one of my alcoholic or just mentally unwell friends.
Yes.
And so like, just because they're alcoholics or mentally unwell, like they're still people and they're just lost souls. And so I try to remember that. But I had to not be around that. So there is quite a few people that are no longer in my life, but new people have came into my life. Amazing people, like even and just different
Uh,
people that I've met
Thank you.
along this journey.
Mm-hmm.
But
Uh,
my relationships almost have completely changed. Some of my relationships are still around from the olden days, but I completely changed. So of course I'm not going to align with the same people.
right. When you came out of this, having experienced what you did, and you want to talk about it, right? How was the reception to
The
your
reception was
experience?
not very receptive. It was more like, just like I remember getting the look like what, like whoa, like she's crazy. Like even I told my doctor, because when they brought in the paperwork that said that my tumor markers had went down, that's when a light bulb went off in my head. Oh my god, that experience was real. Because before that I thought I was hallucinating. I had not been able to eat for 45 days. That can happen. I thought it was a hallucination. But when the tumor markers went from 100 or 1050 down to 250 in about a week, and
Yeah.
me feeling like I was dead, to me feeling wonderful, like I felt great. I had energy. I was able to do all these things that I was like bedridden before. I was on palliative care.
Yeah.
I knew it was a miracle, and I knew it was God, and I knew that that experience was true. So I
Yes.
said, I was in there with my mom and my head oncologist, and she was excited to show me the tumor markers that went down. But I looked at both of them and I said, oh my gosh, it was real. I had a God experience when I was in the hospital. And both of them looked at me like I was like insane. And then, my doctor like even wanted me to like get a psychic evaluation, and they gave me a psych evaluation and even tried to tell me that I was bipolar. I've had all kinds of psych evaluations for the last 40 years of my life, and no one's ever diagnosed me with that. And they would have given me pharmaceuticals for that too. Like
Sure.
it's just scary just because you've had one of these experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. How has it changed you spiritually? Like from how you were before it happened, the 4 years prior, you were working with your manifesting and connecting with your
Yeah.
soul and whatnot. How has it changed you since from there?
Well, I think my friends tell me that like I'm still the same, but I am a completely different person. I don't know if they would probably be able to explain it better, people who've
Mm-hmm.
known me a long time. But I mean, I know that I'm a completely different person. I just have a different kind of love in my heart. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like real love, and to just know that we're here like on a mission, and to know that none of this is like really real, it kind of really opens you up to new experiences. But yeah, I mean, I'm a vegan. I do yoga, I meditate. I never was able, I had such bad anxiety, I could never meditate. I meditate every day.
Oh, it's wonderful.
um, I mean, I don't know what is the same, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm 40 pounds less than I was. That's like a benefit of being a
That's a
vegan.
bonus. Yeah. Oh, yeah. um, do you feel like your purpose has changed?
Oh yeah. I feel like I'm here to help people manifest health. And I just know it in my soul. I want to spread this message to people to let them know that like our bodies are designed to heal themselves. They are designed for that. But we just really need to believe. We just can't, you can't live in a sick place and be well. It's so mental.
Yeah.
And so I just really, really, really like want to spread that message. And I know that that's like why I'm saved, to like help people that maybe so many people, doctors and, different people in society, they're authority figures that if they tell you you have a terminal illness and you have a year to live, your mind's going to believe them and you're going to die within a year. I want to be able to give people hope that maybe have heard those kind of prognoses. Like, no, that you can write your own story. You have a lot more control over this. It's time to be accountable too, accountable to your health, because so many people just want to put their health in other people's hands instead of taking any responsibility.
Yeah. We are so powerful. We're more powerful than we've ever been told, and that's really beautiful.
We are really powerful. That's like basically the message that I need to get out here, because like I feel like I'm a superhuman type of power, but we all are. We're all superhuman. We're infinite beings. So
do you feel like that your spiritual senses have heightened a little bit? Like your psychic senses, your clairvoyance, clairaudience, and such so forth?
I definitely have. I would like to, figure out how to use them more, because I haven't really, worked with anybody who's could help me with that. But I definitely, will get visions and clairvoyance and downloads and, things like that weren't, I was always, if you asked my stepmom, she would say that I was a psychic kid, that I always knew everything that was going to happen before it happened, and it would scare her sometimes. I don't remember that, but I think it's because nobody ever verified any of the things. They'd be like, how does she know that? We're not telling her. So I never really knew that I was like predicting things.
Right.
But I definitely have that ability, and I would like to strengthen it and figure out how. I don't really know, what I can do, but meditation is good.
Oh, you have some great people up there in the Seattle area. When you made your sale that you were coming back, was it like you blinked your eyes and you were back, or do you remember any kind of feeling in between then and here? Or
no, I don't really know. All I know is that after, because he also said, so after he said that I could come back, it was more just like not blinked and I was back, because then there was the whole but it's going to be hard thing.
Oh, right.
And then I was kind of like, remember being like, oh, how is it going to be hard? And I remember kind of getting an attitude up there, like, that could be harder than this,
Yeah.
How dare you tell me a bet? Like I was, sassy up there. And then all I know is that I'm back in the hospital bed, because they're coming in and they're doing the vitals and all of that stuff. And I'm back there, and I just like at that time, I don't even think I thought more about it at the actual hospital, because I was so sick. I mean, I was out of it. It took me some time to process. And I think it was like about a week later when the tumor numbers went down like that and I started miraculously healing, is when it was like, whoa, let me put the pieces to this together. This is something.
Did the doctors tell you how long you were out?
I wasn't out. To them, I wasn't like, like out. I just had a hard time with the surgery. I'm hospitalized for a week, but I'm in and out of consciousness because I'm on all this medication.
Oh
and
my
different
gosh.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you're doing a lot of speaking. You sent me a little clip of speaking in front of audiences.
I mean, that was the first time I ever did that. But I mean, I kind of speak for my job because I'm in sales and I sell technology, digital marketing. And so I go and I speak in front of groups. So, I do know how to speak. Of course, my colleagues don't probably know like my whole story, right? Hopefully they don't judge me. But I, have to do that for work. So I have started to do it. And then I did another podcast. I've done one other podcast that I did. And then and I'm doing yours. And I have like one other girl that wants me on her podcast too.
Excellent. Yeah, just keep
So I'm
spreading
going to
this
start
word.
speaking about this.
Good job. Yes. What do you think you'd like to leave people with? Leave the listeners with?
I think that if you want to heal yourself, you really have to take accountability and go within. You can't look for external sources, like this medicine or this treatment or this or that. Go within and just know in your heart and soul and really put in the work and have faith that you can heal. Like, we're designed to do it. Our bodies are set up that way. It's like in our DNA. So it's a vibration. So this is like another thing I want to give people. The vibration to heal is love. And I know that, right? So you want to only feel love when you're healing. So if you need to not be around certain people, you definitely don't want to watch the news or anything that's going to scare you, or scary movies. Or I just watch pure comedy and just stuff that would make me feel good, and then read tons of books. But you really want to watch your environment, because you want to stay on that frequency of love.
Oh, that's nice.
In your environment, and food too. I think that food helps your vibration. So eating really colorful vegetables and things like that are really going to raise your vibration, which is love, again, to help you heal.
And with regard to your meditation practice, you said that's daily. How long do you meditate?
I mean, it depends, like at least 10 minutes, but like I've gone where I've meditated for like 8 hours, right? Where I'm just like, I just need to just get away. I think in a way too, like after being in the spirit world, you kind of yearn to go back. And there's certain times where you just don't want to be here. So I'm like, I'm just going to meditate.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand that. I mean, it takes you away. I totally understand that. Wow, this is really, really incredible. I'm a little speechless right now because I'm just like processing everything you're saying, right? I think obviously the physical healing is miraculous, what all is, but I'm really like sticking with how you changed mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and how you've healed so much past trauma and worked through those old fears.
That's a miracle.
Oh my gosh.
That was part of God's miracle.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, that's just, I mean, the last thing we want to go through.
Not like, I have no desire to like ever do drugs or like, drink alcohol or like anything again. It's like completely, I go out all the time. I go listen to music. I'm around people drinking. Like, it's never like, yeah, let me just have one or anything. Like, I'm like, nope. I made vows there too. While I was begging for me to stay, I was like, I promise I'll never drink again. I promise I won't do this again. Like, I did make vows with God. So I am trying to
Okay.
stick to that.
Oh, that sounds pretty important.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to leave that out, but I made vows.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm just taken aback by the complete 180 that you did in all aspects of your life. It's just so beautiful. Yeah. And I got to say, that color on you is absolutely beautiful too.
This is my favorite color. So I wear purple like now too. That's another thing. So coming back from there, I love hearts, rainbows. I'm very attracted to rainbows. I just like have them all over my house. And crystals, like I never really was into crystals before. Now I know like the name of every crystal, and I hold them all the time. Like I even, I got one right here that I'm holding.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm really connected to the earth now.
Awesome. Oh, that's so awesome. This has been really beautiful. And I'm so grateful to have you tell your story and to be able to share your story. I feel honored to share your story. And I mean, it's so healing on so many levels for so many people.
Thank
And
you.
it inspires hope, you know?
That's the point, is I want people to really have hope and know, because, we listen to these authority figures, and there is hope. We all have families, we all have things to live for. And so I really do want to inspire people with hope, because
Mhm.
I feel like people take that from you. It's just like one of the first things they like to take when you get diagnosed with something scary like that.
Oh, I mean, that hurts. That's, that's sad.
hmm I also believe too, like my tumor was right here in my heart chakra. And so my life was so sad before, and just, I was just always in a constant state of fear, anxiety, and stress, and was not happy at all, was very depressed. And I just know that, that obviously contributed to me manifesting cancer right there.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I was actually going through my mind. Are you familiar with Louise Hay and her work? Louise
hmm
Hay, yeah, was able to correlate the emotions and the mental states to certain ailments and diseases in the body. And hearing your story about, just your extreme challenges through life, it's easy to draw a line there, to pinpoint, the root.
Yes. And I do have some gals that I'm working with now that have cancer, some friends that, a couple of them are stage 4, and,
At,
there
at
might be some more miracles, or there's going to be some more miracles coming.
they're in stage 4 at this moment, right now.
Yeah. And it's breast cancer on all 3. And most of the, time, breast cancer has come from like sexual and traumatic things
Yeah.
with the opposite sex. And so, I mean, that's why breast cancer is so prevalent. And so, and, speaking to these ladies, I've heard the traumas, and I'm like, yeah, it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
healing, like from cancer, is a mind, body, and soul
Yeah.
experience that you have to do.
I mean, it's all encompassing, clearly.
hmm
It's all encompassing. It's holistic in the
Yes.
whole. Mm-hmm.
And disease is just dis-ease.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies are not at ease,
Yeah.
and we need to balance them.
Yes, it's beautifully said. Well, thank you so much for sitting here with me. I can't wait to share this with everybody. Dear, thank you again. 1,000 thank yous. This was really fun sitting with you.
You too. I had a great time. Let me know if you need anything. Have a
I
good
will.
one.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. Thank you again for listening to the Something Super Spiritual podcast. If you know someone who would enjoy this episode, please do share it with a friend. For show notes, links, and to purchase a mediumship reading, my website is somethingsuperspiritual.com. You can also easily subscribe and follow the show on your favorite app, sign up for my newsletter for bonus content, and to keep the conversation going, you can easily join the Facebook community. It's all right there at the website, somethingsuperspiritual.com. Signing off for now, namaste.